Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to absolutely shatter a mental model you have held onto your entire life. Look, we've all been taught a very simple equation, right? Time equals money. We genuinely believe that if we just put in more physical hours, we're predictably going to generate more wealth. But what if I told you that in the modern economy, that equation is completely broken? Today, we are unpacking the massive shift from a world where time equals money to a world where leverage equals wealth. And we're going to start by looking at a totally fascinating psychological trap that is frankly keeping most of us stuck playing the exact wrong game. Okay, let's dive right into this. I want you to imagine you're locked out of your house. So you call a locksmith. If he shows up, spends 40 minutes sweating, struggling, trying different tools, and finally gets that door open, you happily hand over his $190 fee. But what if he shows up, uses his absolute mastery to pop the lock in 3 minutes flat, and asks for that exact same $190? How do you feel? Well, if you're like most people, you feel a little cheated. But why? The outcome is literally the exact same. And honestly, the 3-minute service is way better because you get back inside faster. So why do we irrationally resent the expert but happily reward the novice?
This is a classic concept known as the locksmith paradox, and it reveals a really deep flaw in human psychology. See, we are evolutionarily hardwired to equate visible physical effort with value. We actually want to see the struggle. When a task is completed too quickly, too efficiently, the person watching often feels exploited. We essentially demand to see physical labor as a justification for the cost, and we completely ignore the years of unseen mastery it took that expert to achieve that incredible 3-minute speed.
And this perfectly illustrates a cognitive bias called the labor illusion. Basically, we assign greater value to things when we can actually witness the effort being put into them. Researchers at Harvard Business School actually tested this out using travel search websites. They found that if a travel site gave users instant flight results, users actually trusted it less. But if the site introduced an artificial 30 to 60 second delay, I'm talking literally just a fake loading bar showing the system quote-unquote searching various airlines, users actually rated the service as way more valuable. They preferred the site that forced them to wait simply because it visually signaled that work was being done on their behalf.
And you know, it gets even wilder than that. In another study, participants were shown the exact same 10 apartments by a real estate agent. When they were told the agent used an automated program to find the apartments in just 30 minutes, they rated the apartments, moderately. But when they were told the agent spent 9 grueling hours manually searching to find those exact same 10 apartments, they rated the apartments 36% better. We are so utterly hooked on the illusion of labor that it literally blinds us to objective reality.
Section 1. The reality, the great decoupling.
So while human psychology is still very much wired to reward visible physical labor, the macroeconomy has completely moved on. If you trace the historical data back, there's a massive inflection point. From the 1940s up until the 1970s, aggregate productivity and median worker compensation basically held hands and grew together. You worked harder, you got paid more. Simple. But right around the late 1970s, those lines completely fracture. Overall productivity skyrockets as technology advances, but compensation for the typical worker just completely flatlines. Now, economists definitely debate the exact math here. Some argue that inflation adjustments and rising healthcare benefits kind of skew those numbers. But there is one structural reality that is agreed upon across the board. Frontier tech firms, the ones heavily leveraging digital networks, are rapidly pulling away from the rest of the economy. They are capturing massive returns, and they're doing it with incredibly small teams.
Section 2. The mechanics, the power of leverage.
This brings us to a really critical realization. If raw physical effort and linear hours don't equal wealth in this new economy, what actually does? The answer is leverage. Entrepreneur and investor Naval Ravikant breaks leverage down into 4 distinct categories. First, you have labor, which is essentially other people working for you. Second is capital, money working for you. Third is code, software and robots working for you. And fourth is media, content that scales. Understanding the difference between these 4 levers is absolutely crucial to decoupling your time from your earning potential.
The first 2 levers, labor and capital, those are from the old world. They are permission-based. To use them, somebody has to actively agree to work for you or some gatekeeper has to agree to fund you. They're hard to get. But code and media, those are the levers of the 21st century. They are permissionless. You literally don't need anyone's approval to write a piece of software, record a podcast, or publish a video. And most importantly, the marginal cost to make another copy is practically zero. You create it once, and it works for you while you sleep, scaling infinitely.
So the crucial point here really comes down to one absolutely mind-blowing number.
13. Back in 2012, Instagram was acquired by Facebook for $1 billion. At the time, they were serving millions of users globally. And they did it all with just 13 employees. A few years later, WhatsApp was acquired for $19 billion, with a team of just 55 people. This is the ultimate proof of permissionless leverage. A tiny, tiny collective of individuals, using code, wielded massive global market power, completely detaching their actual labor hours from their wealth creation.
I want you to just take a second to really absorb this quote. Earn with your mind, not your time. In a world where the consequences of your decisions are magnified 1,000 times over by digital leverage, the quality of your judgment becomes infinitely more valuable than the sheer quantity of your hours.
Section 3. Surfing superlinear returns.
So what actually happens when you start applying this leverage? Well, you stop playing a linear game, and you enter the wild territory of superlinear returns. In a linear world, your growth is just a straight line. You work 2 hours, you get paid for 2 hours. Fair enough. But in a leveraged world, returns are driven by exponential growth and hidden thresholds. Think about building an audience or a network effect. When knowledge compounds, it doesn't just add up, it multiplies. The difference in outcome between someone who is decent and someone who is exceptional isn't just a tiny bit more money, it is a massive winner-take-all leap.
Because of this intense compounding effect, essayist Paul Graham points out something fascinating. He notes that at the far end of the performance curve, incremental effort is an absolute bargain. Pushing past that initial threshold of, say, learning a tough new skill or building that initial tiny audience, it feels incredibly slow at first. It's a grind. But because the reward curve rises so steeply at the end, that little bit of extra effort you put in to go from good to truly exceptional yields completely disproportionate, massive returns.
Section 4. The nonlinear career. Let's move to how this builds into our everyday lives. How do we actually apply these huge macroeconomic shifts to a random Tuesday morning? First, we have to totally abandon the old blueprint. The old linear career was go to school, get a safe job, slowly climb a rigid corporate ladder, and postpone your fulfillment until you retire. But in today's highly dynamic economy, tying your entire identity to one single path is a massive vulnerability. Enter the non-linear career. As career coach Siobhan Barnes outlines, this modern approach is all about lateral moves. It's prioritizing adaptability, embracing skills-based hiring, and hey, sometimes even taking a downward title shift just to gain a powerful new skill set. It's fundamentally about building a diverse portfolio of leverage, rather than just a dusty resume of old job titles.
To actually navigate this non-linear path, you're going to need 3 main pillars. First is self-mastery, really knowing exactly what unique skills and judgment you bring to the table. Second is strategy, figuring out how to combine those specific skills with code or media to build out a resilient portfolio of income streams. And third is innovative action, constantly upskilling, leveraging new tools like AI to multiply your personal productivity, and adapting to the market long before you're ever forced to.
Which brings us right back to our final thought. We are so deeply conditioned by the labor illusion to feel guilty if we aren't constantly sweating and struggling and grinding away for 40 minutes, like that novice locksmith. But listen, the world doesn't reward your sweat anymore. It rewards your solutions. So take a hard look at your career, look at your daily inputs, and ask yourself this: are you just putting in the time, or are you actively building the leverage to earn with your mind? Give that some thought, and we'll see you in the next explainer.